Hey, Hannah John.
Hello mate, you alright?
Yeah, I'm doing good, man. How you doing?
Yeah, all good. Back from holiday, so
How was it?
yeah, it was nice. Went Portugal.
Yeah, have you got like the full hour spare for today, like the
Oh
consultation?
yeah, of course. Yeah. I've got as much time as we need. I've got my stuff from. I didn't get the position for compare the market or rowdy, so
Hmm.
like
Oh man, that sucks.
that sucks.
Based on the one that you've put in the chat, so I
Yeah.
see it says for the interview, strengthening the structure and clarification of your answers,
Mhm.
particularly specific examples and clearly outlining your thought process. So in the interview, did they ask you like very specific kind of questions that they wanted to kind of hear like your methodology about? Okay, yeah. So it sounds like it was like a behavioral kind of question, like
Yeah.
how would you go about
Yeah.
something, right? So yeah, with that, like, because what I'm looking at specifically is when they say your thought process,
Mhm.
essentially what I'm seeing here is
Yeah.
perhaps in the interview we didn't, I guess, express ourselves at every single stage that we're going through. So for example, we didn't outline the problem as effectively as we could have, the solution, who came up with the solution, why the solution, solution B was better than solution A, and so forth. Um, because essentially, like when it comes to these types of questions, there's no real right or wrong answer. They specifically just want to
Yeah.
hear your thought process about it, right? So essentially that's kind of one of the things that I guess we could potentially kind of hone in on, because if we can do that, then we can make sure that we don't get this type of feedback again, and then what we can do is we can actually learn from it, and then of course get next stages.
Always, I feel like they're all right. The only thing is, I don't. I feel like I'm not doing well enough to get the interview.
Okay, okay, that makes sense. So that what we can do then is we can go through your CV, as that will increase your interview rates, and then from there, of course, we can have more OAs, we can have more interviews, which will of course increase the probabilities and chances of us actually landing the offer there as well. Essentially, we want to aim mainly towards actually obtaining interviews, not really OAs, because OAs is just basically like a barrier between us and people, and of course the easier we can get through to those people, the more we can actually influence the chances of landing those offers. So that's something that we should, I guess, consider. But when it comes to like the numbers, I mean, overall a good interview rate would be for every 100 that we apply for, we get 10 interviews, something like that. So like a 10% interview rate is pretty standard. I would say to specifically block out time during the week. So let's say it's 2 hours on a Thursday,
Yeah.
and you would specifically apply within that time frame for the positions that you actually want to have, and that's with all of the assets once they're in order. So I would say to block out like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then go through LinkedIn, find all of the jobs that are specifically associated to the ones that you actually want to have, and then from there you can actually apply with those. Now, usually when I do this, or whenever I enter back onto the market, I'll try to get about 50 to 80 in, and that's typically like the process that but also the other clients that I have kind of follow through as well. We can of course do it kind of gradually, like over time, but the thing is with that, it makes it a bit more tricky to track the numbers because it's on like a day rate, and also with that, it kind of also makes it so it's harder to actually get more applications in as well.
Yeah, yeah, let's do that. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. What I'll do then is I'll quickly share my screen, and then we can go through your CV and identify areas to improve. So can you see my screen at the moment? We ideally want to change that. We want to make it so it's specific to the niche that we're in, and also reconfirms our personal brand. So an easy way of doing this is just going to be your first and last name. Another way of doing this is also going to have your niche or an abbreviation of your niche and then your first name. So for example, mine is Cyber Cameron because I'm in cyber security. And that's going to reconfirm the niche that we wish to be targeting, alongside also our personal brand there as well. Here's the thing, right? So essentially when we use our CV, especially on places like LinkedIn, they're going to get our application, they'll get our CV, they'll get our cover letter, and they'll also get our link to our LinkedIn as well, which is a really beautiful part of the process, because essentially what we can do is we can actually nurture the recruiters, the hiring managers, people inside these companies through our LinkedIn, so they already know where we're at, the value that we can provide, and where we're aiming for as well. But if you ever do mention this anywhere else, this is the reason for why I'm saying this next. But when you're specifically calling out where you're currently at in life, you're essentially setting an invisible barrier to the positions that you actually want to get to. Now, I'll give you a clear example, right? So since you've put final year computer science student, right? So there's very specific keywords that we pulled out just naturally through their mind for recruiters and hiring managers. So it's going to be final year and student. Now, these two keywords that are being used are essentially going to be, subconsciously casting doubt in their minds as to the value that you can provide to them, because you're framing yourself as a student, right? And who are students? Students are people who have no experience, who are looking for a chance in the field, that kind of stuff, right? So essentially, when we do that, it actually makes it so we're competing with every other student out there. Whereas if we actually brand ourselves as a mature industry tech professional, then actually we're competing against other tech professionals, which means that we alienate majority of the competition for the roles that we're going for, because we're not now competing with students. But there's missing the value, the impact here, right? Like, you haven't specified, I don't believe, the impact anywhere of why this is.
I don't know how I would go about saying how I improved something by whatever, because technically I haven't actually published it and people haven't used it, so it's just a project.
That's fair. Yeah, so essentially what we can do is we can just use sample data, right? We can use dry run data, where essentially we'll just collect some sort of metrics got to do with the project. We'll compare them to a least and most efficient of that. And then what we can do is we can then draft KPI metrics. So metrics specifically to say, based on where it was previously to where it is now, we've seen a 34% increase on efficiency.
I see. So I can say something along the lines of by implementing this thing, it increased some metric by this.
Pretty much, yeah. And I would make sure that it's impactful metrics, right? When companies are looking to make a conscious decision to hire someone, essentially what they're looking at is the level of impact that you've had previously and the value that you can provide as well.
Yeah.
Now, when they're looking at value, they're looking at perceived and future value. So the perceived value is what you've done in the past, so past value. And that's going to be based on your projects, metrics and stuff like that we've just discussed. But then they're going to basically assume the future value that you can provide to them purely based on the previous value that we've done. Then they're in their minds, what they're going to be doing is they're going to be saying to themselves, well, if this guy's done 34% improvement of X metric, then imagine if we was to hire them, they can generate us 34% at the bare minimum for a similar metric that we have on our end, which means that they can actually provide us a lot of value. So when we do it that way, they go deep in their minds of okay, well, how can their past value dictate future value for us if we were to hire them? And if we get them in this kind of way of thinking, this is going to allow them to actually have this kind of bias towards us, where we can actually attract the offers a lot more and a lot quicker than other candidates out there. I would say it does. You would need a LinkedIn for sure. That is so essentially that's gonna be one component of what I call the ecosystem in the training, which is essentially gonna be that we have every component element in order, which build out a much bigger picture that establishes trust, that we know that we're the best candidate, and that sends those signals to the company as well. Now, one of those elements, one of those components in that ecosystem is going to be your LinkedIn. So we ideally would need to have one of that, and would have to have it fully customized out, fully technical and so forth. And the reason for that is because that's essentially going to be the way that you're going to be showcasing of yourself as much as possible.
In terms of my portfolio wise, I feel like the way I've shown on my GitHub is just not as clear.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to do that.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, so with portfolios, it's going to be a very deep conversation that we'll need to have. We probably won't have enough time to cover it in detail today. But there is a lot of specific things that we do need to kind of set in order for them. And projects are more of those things that we need to do to showcase our value and to close those uncertainty gaps. But once we do that, it's then going to be moving on to things that are kind of more important. So we just want to make sure we do optimize for our time, because, and I see this all of the time, but people will spend 5 hours working on one project and they still haven't done it even after then. And we don't really want to.
That's what I'm scared about, to be honest. I just don't want the hassle of spending so much time on the project where, the actual output or results from doing that is so minimal. It doesn't really make that much more of an effect than the hours you put in. Oh, it's like that, really?
What do you mean?
Because I've literally done that at uni.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly what you said. Since yeah,
pretty much. I mean, like, so I call this cross-pollination inside the training, but essentially this is what we can do. We can basically repurpose things that we've already done to be efficient with our time, so we can showcase in various different formats.
Oh wow, okay, I've actually never thought about it like that. That's actually amazing.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty good,
I've got
isn't it?
a lot of ideas now, so yeah, it's cool. See you in a bit, bro.
See you later. Take care.
Alright,
Bye.
cheers, bye.